Bob isn't actually trying to do anything until he finds out about Operation Kronos. During the first quarter of the movie, he is only doing random superhero stuff that he hears about on the radio, and during the second quarter, he is simply following one clue to the next without a clear goal. There was originally an entire scene with Jack Jack and his babysitter that was made into a short film. This was cut because of Jack Jack's lack of relevance to the main plot of the movie. There is a clear theme of family is just as important as work that is only apparent at the end of the movie. Once upon a time, there was a retired superhero named Bob. Every day he spent time with his family wishing that he could relive his superhero days. One day he is invited to Syndrome and Mirage's island. Because of that, he is captured. Because of that, he has to work with his family to escape and defeat the Omnidroid, until finally, he and his family become a newly active team of superheroes. Jack Jack can simply be cut from the film altogether, as Violet and Dash already create enough conflict, and none of the Pars think about him at any point on the island. Same with Mirage. The only conflict that she creates is when Helen thinks that Bob is being unfaithful in their marriage, and that conflict is resolved extremely quickly. Receiving an invitation to go back to being a superhero moves Bob closer to his comfort zone, not farther. The ending is that Bob gets to be a super again due to his hard work defeating the Omnidroid, but he has to work with his family, which is something that he didn't want to do at the beginning. Instead of Pixar's staff writing the film together, Brad Bird wrote the film entirely on his own and then pitched his idea to Pixar. The writers initially got stuck on figuring out how to make the main villain good, as he was originally a different character, and Syndrome was a minor antagonist who died near the beginning of the movie. The writers then cut the original main villain and made Syndrome the main villain. Brad Bird based this film off of superhero comic books and movies from his childhood, and it was originally simply a funny movie about superheroes. However, his own personal life and his prioritization of his career over his family filtered into the movie and became one of the main themes. Brad Bird wasn't even hired by Pixar until the entire Parr family was fully developed as characters. This film was very unique among the superhero films of the time, which were about one hero against many villains, while this movie is about one villain against many heroes. Bob has no idea that his family is with him on the island until he is captured, at which point he eagerly and instantly accepts their help, which is a complete reversal of his previous opinions. As I explained in point 10, Brad Bird originally conceived this movie because he felt like his career was not allowing him to spend a lot of time with his family. If I were Bob, I would be very suspicious of the fact that Mirage would tell me that I would have another assignment in 2 months after defeating the Omnidroid, as if destruction was intentionally going to be caused. The real final battle is actually not the Omnidroid battle, as Syndrome was unharmed and he could easily create another Omnidroid. Rather, the actual final battle was at the Par's house, but that was very low stakes, as Jack Jack was the main cause of Syndrome's defeat, and the only thing that anyone else did was Bob throwing a car at the Jet, which is something that he has done many times. Also, the Incredibles don't get blamed for the destruction caused by the Omnidroid, which contrasts with what was established at the beginning of the film. Brad Bird's personal life becoming a theme in the movie was originally unintentional, however it ended up giving the story a lot more substance. For his final test, Bob has to defeat the Omnidroid, which has never been defeated before, and he has to work with his family, which he was unwilling to do at the beginning. It sure is convenient that A. Bob happened to enter the cave where he found Syndrome's password and that Dynaguy was dead, and B. Syndrome created a presentation for anyone who might happen to break into his lab. This film uses the building blocks of classic superhero and spy movies, but it also focuses on emotional conflicts that anyone could experience. As I explained in point 12, this film is about many heroes against one villain as opposed to one hero against many villains. Bob is invited to do superhero work on the island, gets captured, has to rely on his family for help, which works out, and superheroes are legalized again.